I'm sure you all were hoping to spend time in a conference room today. So glad to be here with you. So we have a busy agenda. I think what we're going to do today is go ahead and get ourselves through the consent calendar. And then we'd like to go ahead and move forward to talk about the executive recruitment process. I think that's agenda items number 28A and B. Once we're concluded with that, we're going to go ahead and move to the executive session, take care of that before we swing back to the open calendar or agenda. So that's.
You want to introduce our new colleague?
I do, of course. You sound eager to do it. Well, I'd like to just give a big welcome to our newest commissioner, Commissioner Chana Newell, who has a wealth of experience in public service, actually. So delighted to have her on board and her keen intellect here to help us really work through the tricky issues we get. So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great to have you. Would you like to add any comments?
No, does that mean we're up to 9 now? We got a full complement. Mr. Burson, is that right?
Don't say it too loud.
Like
People might
jinx it.
I know.
Might leave.
Yeah.
Are you leaving?
No.
Yeah. No.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and approve the minutes for the August 25th, 2003 meeting. Anybody have any corrections to the minutes? All right. Seeing none, the minutes are approved by consent. Let's move forward. We have one item on the consent calendar. It's SEI correspondence. Is that you, Ron? Or
Unless you have any
Nope.
questions,
okay, yeah.
pass it.
Got a- I think- Sounds good. We just got a motion. Need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell, Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and
Seeing Allie and Payne. Allie, hasn't said why she's not here, so I'm having David follow up with her right now. And Commissioner Payne is gone.
Nice.
I knew about that. Okay. So let's go ahead and move forward to agenda items number 28A and 28B. As all of you know, unfortunately, Ron has refused to stay with us any longer and insisting on retirement. So we're faced with a recruitment process. And we've been working with DAS on that. I know the last meeting when I was out of state, you guys met with DAS and learned a bit about their process, which is terrific. Today we have Katie Matzik. Am I saying that right, Katie?
Very close, Matisic. Yeah.
Matisic, Katie Matisic from DAS, who is helping us out, I think, because our normal contact is unavailable to attend. And so I know, Katie, we have before us the position description. It looks like we've been classified, this position's been classified as an agency head 8, or no, by the way, 7 from an 8. Which is terrific news. But I just wanted to give you a chance to maybe fill us in on other information you think we should know and the public should know about this process.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. I am covering for Kylan Stevens, who is our usual executive recruiter. So be gentle with me. I don't do this type of meeting very often, but I'm happy to help. So I do have a couple of updates from Kylan to convey to you all. The timeline for the recruitment has been updated to reflect a new job posting date of Monday, October 9th, which has also pushed out some of the other recruitment phase dates, which we can go through the recruitment plan updates this morning. The reclassification request was completed. And the new position description does reflect the updates and the correct classification now. And I also have that to share with you all if we'd like to go through that. And the updated job announcement now does reflect the correct salary range. So those were the primary updates that I was told to relay to you all. Would you like me to share my screen and look at the different documents?
Maybe briefly, I did want to make a clarification just for the record. So you mentioned that we're not going to post until October 9th, which sounds just fine. We did have some comments from the public. There were some concerns about the position having already been posted or there having been interviews or anything like that having occurred previously, but nothing has happened to date. We're just getting ready to post, correct?
That is correct. It is not live. It has not been posted previously. So it will not be live until Monday, October 9th.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for making that. And question from Commissioner
Chair, thank you. The Vice Chair has his hand up too. So I'll go first with.
Yes, please.
Okay, just a quick question. This can wait till whenever you were ready, Ms. Matisic, to suggest this. It would help me to know where we intend to advertise the vacancy. Where will the job vacancy be posted? I would be interested in a summary of that when the moment arrives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't we go ahead and take a question from Commissioner Lindsay and then you can hit them both at once.
Right, thank you. My question was if you could remind me of the procedural timeline. I was under the impression that we were on a different timeline. It looks like we've pushed it out till October 9. And so I'd like to see what the trailer procedure would be in addition to, I do recall Commissioner Fiscum that they answered those questions at our last meeting. It'd be interesting to see if there's anything changed. So thank you.
Thank you. I believe you all have a copy of the updated recruitment plan. I'm not able to share my screen, it looks like, so I don't know if you'd like to turn that on for me so I can walk you through that.
Katie, I can share my screen. Just one moment, please.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Agenda last time.
I emailed an updated one yesterday, so it did not go out to everybody. Just
Perfect. Thank you. So we've already completed steps 1 through 4 regarding needs analysis, plan development, updating that position description, and preparing the job announcement. So today is our step 5 of adopting the final plan, which includes a few motions listed there that need to be approved. But if we scroll down.
oh, sorry, my bad.
That's okay. We can see some of the answers to the prior questions that were asked. So activity 1, announcement distribution and advertising strategy. The suggested distribution channels would be to share the job posting with agency heads, local government entities, identified stakeholders. It will, of course, be posted on the jobs website, the Oregon Job Board. And then it's automatically going to be picked up by one of the largest commercial job boards, Indeed.com. This is a service that's done with no cost to us. I think there was a motion higher up the page prior that asked for any recruitment dollars. If there was a motion to spend any advertising dollars to increase the reach of this job posting, that is something that could be discussed. And then there might be recommended paid advertisement that could go out. But I believe a motion would have to be made for dollar amounts to be spent on that if we wanted to use any sort of paid advertising. And then as far as the timeline, the question about the timeline. So if the job is posted on, or when the job is posted on Monday, October 9th, Then the following dates have moved to such that the posting will be up until November 9th. So the applicants would be granted 1 month of time in order to apply. The executive recruiter will review applications and grant access to the applications for the review to screen those applications to the committee. So that's the time frame for the pre-screening process. Starting on the 9th, once that job has closed from the job board, then screening of the desired attributes would begin, and identifying the recommended semifinalists or top candidates who should be advanced to the first round interview. So between 11/9 and 11/13, applications will be shared with the committee, the application screening committee, as applicants are received. Review of applications by the screening committee should, oh, that date hasn't been updated.
Gonna say it's already late. We're 2 days late.
Too
I'm
old.
assuming, based on the next line, I'm assuming that that's 11/14 instead of October 4th.
So just to be clear, what we're
Yeah.
saying is it says that somehow review of applications will be completed by October 4th. That's not the case. We don't have any
Correct.
applications because we haven't posted the position. So this needs to be updated with our new date.
Correct. That seems to be an oversight from the update
No worries.
to this plan.
You're doing great. And keep
Sure,
going.
thank you. And then if we scroll down to the next activity on the next page, this is starting the interview and selection process. So between November 13th and November 20th, candidates will be sent to recorded interviews. That's the VidCruiter process. Then panelists will review those completed interviews through an electronic scoring process between November 20th and November 27th. Then the commission chair will, oops, was there a question?
Oh, I just was looking at when Thanksgiving is. It seems to be November 23rd. So I'm just, that time period to watch, 60 hours of tape might be a little tight for folks, given that that's a holiday. So if you could share that with Kylan, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. And then if this time frame stays as is, if it doesn't have any adjustments for the holiday, the second round interviews would occur between 11/28 and December 4th. With this time frame, we could schedule the meet and greets with the governor's office on December, well, staff virtual meet and greet would be on December 8th. Stakeholder virtual meet and greet would be December 11th. And then sometime thereafter, the governor's office interview would occur.
Great. So it says on your materials that the commission chair is to choose a stakeholder invitee list. Is it safe to assume that there'll be some suggestions made to the commission chair on who should be on that list? Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, a reasonable request.
Okay. Thank you.
There is a step after all of the various interviews and meet and greets for reference checking. So this is a phase where the executive recruiter can assist with conducting reference checks on the final candidates prior to any sort of final decision. And then a final round in candidate selection. So this is laid out where each candidate will have 15 minutes to introduce themselves and then take interview questions from the board, with the public meeting and executive session as well listed there. Let's see. So again, this date is to be determined sort of based on some of the previous steps and how quickly they can occur, but a final round interview would occur here, provided to the to the chair no later. Well, we'll fill in those dates, and then commission chair will provide a final approval for a final round executive session interview. There would be an open meeting session following the conclusion of that executive session. And then there's two options for the final result here, where there could be a motion to make the final background checks and verification pieces to make a job offer. And this could be like you have candidate A being your top finalist and candidate B being a sort of a runner-up. Or if all of these assessments of the candidates result in no one being selected, then there would be a motion for the recruitment to be reopened and re-advertised for an expanded pool of applicants to consider through an additional recruitment process if necessary. If the first motion takes place where we do have a candidate that we'd like to select, that's when we would move to the sixth step there of candidate offer and negotiation. When that moves through the phase, if everyone is in agreement on that piece, then the appointment and announcement is the final step of this plan.
Terrific. Thank you for that helpful description. I know we're going to have questions, so why don't we start with Commissioner Fiscom?
Chair, just a couple things. Thank you. First of all, I want to go back to the advertising of the position quickly to just say two things. One, and I assume the first thing I would say is covered by your processes, but I want to indicate that it needs to be, that is to advertise this to quote diversity unquote groups or organizations. That's an important step for us to take to make sure we have the widest possible advertising to occur. So the diversity organizations that you're familiar with and we are, that needs to be covered, and I would submit needs to be stated in this summary. And the second place to make sure the distribution is sent is to the National Ethics Organization that goes by 5 initials, COGEL, C-O-G-E-L. COGEL needs to receive this officially from us in this process. They're probably smart enough to know this is an issue for their consideration anyway, to suggest candidates, but we ought to make sure those two bases are touched.
Thank you for that feedback.
And I would ask one other quick question. So it sounds to me like I presume this is accurate, that the potential dates for commission interviews of finalists have not been established yet. Originally, they were established as 2 potential dates, and they've gone away, I think, December 8th with a backup of December 15th. I'm going to assume that has now been fudged to a later time and subject to your role, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I can comment on that because I spoke with Kylan this week that he felt that December 8th, given this timeline, is not feasible. December 15th may be, but that it would be a very aggressive timeline and we would have to get things done very much according to how things are planned out currently. So there's no wiggle room with like the holiday thing.
And then past December 15th, you get to the Christmas season, so to speak, which is another issue. But.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think we're all rule followers on this group, so people will probably comply with the deadlines that are set. So I'm sure it's good to know. So maybe December 15th is still a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. I guess Executive Director Burson, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on paid advertising. Is that something that we have in the budget or that you would recommend?
Yeah, I was actually just make a comment on that. The commission really doesn't have any authority to spend any money.
You do.
I do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we are we're happy to pay that out, that we get the most diverse, broadest reach out there. And I think Kogel was already part of our plan in there.
I
So,
presume so.
so any kind of paid advertising for the position that DAS brings forward, I don't really have a problem with paying for that.
Okay, great. So maybe you
Because
could share that with
The end of that
Kylan.
was we start over again, and I don't think you guys really want to do that. So let's get it out to the most people we can for that month to have them apply.
Neither do you.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to Europe on January 1st, so whatever time it takes.
Not leaving till the 3rd.
Yeah. Just, let's do the process correctly and get yourself, a good replacement.
Okay, terrific.
'Cause
Thank
the
you.
cost of not is
It's high.
higher.
Agreed. Okay. Vice Chair Lindsay?
Yes, thank you. Just a few questions. I'm not finding this document that's being shared on our screen. If maybe I missed it, but if Stephanie or Becky could recirculate it to the commissioners, that would be helpful. That's number one. Number two, I think that what DAS has presented to us is satisfactory. I'm disinclined to spend any more money if it's not needed. I think that Kylan said that we'd probably get 30 something candidates. So I think we're satisfied there, at least I am personally. And then the third thing is I would recommend that we still try to push for the December 9, which was our first choice, and December 15 was an alternative, knowing that there's a lot of moving pieces and we'll need some flexibility anyway. And so I'm always inclined to push for original dates, try to get them, and instead of automatically extending it, knowing that it might be extended again, I would recommend that we just heads down and try to push for those original dates, knowing that if we need to move them, we have some flexibility. If we were to push to the 15th, and if we needed to extend beyond that, I'm scared that we're well into January if we needed to do that. So those are my 3 comments.
Thank you for that. I appreciate those comments. I certainly share your interest in moving forward with all deliberate speed. So to the extent we can make that happen. I also had a question, 2 quick questions. One was about commission input on questions for the candidates. Is there an opportunity for the commissioners to provide input on those questions if there's specific characteristics we really want to emphasize or other interests?
Yes, I can respond to that. On page 3, there are some bullet points regarding interviewing. The VidCruiter interview piece has a step where the interview questions will be submitted to the commission chair and executive director for approval prior to submitting the invites out to the candidates to move forward. And similarly with the second round interview, which is that more panel interview scenario, that would occur again with that set of questions. So certainly built into this process is a sort of a check that there's approval. I think that also implies that suggested changes or edits to those questions is part of that.
Okay, and I know that there are some folks that have strong feelings about things that should be included in the questions. I'm wondering if process-wise, obviously we can't discuss this via email. If there's things that are particularly important to commissioners, I'm wondering if they should maybe just email those thoughts to Ron directly.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have an opportunity to edit as a group because we'd have to convene.
I see.
But I do really value the input of my fellow commissioners. Yes, Commissioner Fisco.
Madam Chair, happy to comply with that because I have some questions in my mind, if not on paper. I had one other question about that, so thank you for your question on that, on the subject of, are we required by some edict or process to ask the same questions of every person we interview with no additions to certain persons or deletions to certain persons? Do the questions that we ask have to be identical for each candidate?
The employment lawyer in me says that would be a darn good idea. I don't know what the state policy is on it, but I think that the challenge is once you change the questions, you open yourself up to.
Well, the counterpoint issue for me, a non-attorney, albeit hard to be a lobbyist, retired, I understand. The problem with that for me, potentially having interviewed so many people for so many jobs over the years in my long career, is that you can't adjust your question list to the reality of the interview. And that raises lots of questions for me that may be lesser than the legal risks you would encounter by going off point, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I have this tension in my mind about what you're advising.
I know. I mean, I'm not suggesting I have a perfect answer here.
No.
I mean, so I think, we can talk with our counsel about the best approach. Sort of my gut is if someone doesn't answer a question, I feel like I can ask it of them again. And that's not sort of going outside of the asking everyone the same question box. But let's maybe we save that for the final round, because for the vid recruiter, there's no possibility of asking follow-ups, right? It's just like a cut and dry.
One for the fair point. The other question that comes up for me, and this can be put off till the moment, is if a person were in-person interviewing rather than vid recruiter, I appreciate that distinction.
Yeah.
Answers a question in a certain way that might prompt us to want to have ask a follow-up question. And if we're prevented from doing so, that's just another way to describe the tension I feel.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that hanging.
I think that's a very valid point. So thank you for raising that. I think it's something we can consider as it arises.
Right. Thank you.
Executive Director, do you have a comment? Or?
Well, I just think that you're going to have help in this. I mean, the executive recruiter will help you, but you can ask clarifying questions of their answer. So you're not precluded from talking at all, but you just can't ask them a whole nother question, because you haven't asked somebody else.
That's a fair distinction. Thank you for that.
So.
Yeah. So the final question I had is how, this subcommittee that we're supposed to create and sort of, our process for that. There's interest among the commissioners to serve on the subcommittee. I guess I'm looking at Vice Chair Lindsay, assuming that he will be a participant in this subcommittee. Thumbs up to that. And I think we do have an interest in keeping it sort of nimble. It would need to be certainly less than a quorum. So we don't need to decide that. I don't think we need to decide that now. Do we need to decide that now and have a motion on it?
Just to clarify,
Yes.
is it if it's a subcommittee, so then it's public meeting
Yeah.
versus if it's
Individuals that are evaluating things.
correct,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, so.
I guess I
some of that language.
very much appreciate the distinction. I understand the reason why that is crucial. I guess I'm reading the materials here and they're referencing a subcommittee. So if we are not forming a subcommittee, then I think we need to revise this document accordingly.
Excellent. Good point.
So what is our plan? Are we going to do a subcommittee? Are we going to have a select few individuals that have more of a reviewing role and they can bring their individual thought to the process?
Yeah, I think it's up to the chair. I mean, I think the chair can have people review the vid recruiter thing in that first one. You're not forming a subcommittee, therefore you don't have a public meeting, but they are obligating themselves to look at, like you said, hours of tape. But and I think the commissioners that are interested in being on that group of people that are reviewing that first round should make that known to you.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
I appreciate that. Just a sec.
No,
I appreciate that. And I do think there's a lot of wisdom in going for that individual approach and not doing the full subcommittee model. And I think, based on the advice of our counsel, our learned counsel, that would be appropriate here. So, I think that's the way I would want to go. I'd love to get the commission's thoughts, make sure that they're comfortable with that approach.
Madam Chair, as one
Thumbs up
commissioner,
on
I'm
that.
very comfortable. That's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
which is I would yield to your guidance on this, given your sensitivity, and I think that's entirely appropriate. Better that than to try to have a motion.
Right, okay. I do acknowledge that that sort of puts more responsibility on me as an individual. And I will sort of admit openly that, to my own imperfection and, I'm not infallible. So I appreciate the trust. Yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight is considering the sensitivities and that this is a R&D politically neutral commission. This shows you how much trust we have in you, Chair Hollister. We appreciate the trust and the confidence that you've built with us.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair Lindsay. Certainly, I think we're all hoping to get through this process with a qualified candidate, that can really do the hard work for the people of Oregon. So I feel like we're definitely united in that goal. Let me say that I really value the input of each and every one of you. And I hope that regardless of your level of engagement in this process, that you feel, very comfortable sharing your thoughts and know that, I want to hear from you. And so please pick up the phone or whatever you need to do to get in touch. Okay, so that answers my question. So if I could ask of Kylan to revise this document to take out any references to a subcommittee, I would appreciate that. I just want to make it clear for the record that we've decided not to go that approach. All right.
Understood.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. Are there any other questions before we go to public comment? Oh, yes.
It's amazing you said public comment. That's where I was going. We did get that communication. Is there somewhere in here for the public to be notified, to be able to send us their thoughts? I'm just curious. I mean, I didn't see it in here, but I didn't know if that was going to be part of the process or not.
Well, we are going to offer an opportunity for public comment at this meeting
Today.
So that's one little piece. I think in terms of the long-term process, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, the other one is the stakeholders. So you're going to get down to your final candidates. They're going to meet with the stakeholders, which would be the cities, counties, special districts, and all their interested parties. And, those folks will have an opportunity to comment to you. And at the end, you will actually receive those comments in that final interview for each one of the candidates, from the stakeholders, from the governor's office, and from the employees. So that's kind of the chance for them to really comment on the candidate specifically. Right now, we're talking about them making comments on the process itself.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Great question. Any other questions from commissioners on the teams? Okay, see any. So I think we're ready to go ahead and move forward to public comment. Given the length of our agenda, I am going to ask folks to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And of course, you're always welcome to submit additional comments in writing if that's not sufficient to sort of share your message. I believe we have one individual who's indicated they wish to make public comment. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair, and they are not currently in the meeting, and we called them and left a voicemail. They did not respond.
Okay. Are there any others that are on the phone that wish to take this opportunity to provide public comment? I'm happy to allow you to do so. All right. Well, I'm not hearing anyone at this time, so I'm looking in the room here. No. Okay. I think we're ready to just go ahead and move forward to the closed agenda. Or no, do we have more?
Yes.
Sorry, we have more. Okay.
You need to vote on your policy directives. I gave you a draft.
Thank you.
Compiled with what you had given me, so those need to be voted.
Oh, okay. We're going to do that now.
Here, there's that thing. There's 4.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So let's see. So next we want to
Number 2,
adopt our hiring procedures. So we need to finalize these, even though we've given you some direction on changes. I'll just assume those changes have been made. Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Because we don't have time to come back again. All right. So I think I just need a motion to adopt the procedures presented by DAS today as our final hiring procedures.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that we adopt the policies and procedures as presented by DAS and as amended as we've directed.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell.
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we have our recruitment process in place. We've offered an opportunity for public comment. I'll note we did receive some public comments in writing.
Question,
Yeah.
did we want to vote on these policy?
Well, yeah, the other,
Directive.
Madam Chair, it's number 3 there.
Policy directives.
We have to
Because that's what we
Yeah.
came
vote
up
on
with.
that.
Yeah.
Not what Gas came up with.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
So I think we ought to vote on these directives on the September 18th.
Thing right here,
yeah.
Yeah.
hiring standards, criteria, description and policy.
Yeah, so you'd compiled we compiled your list of policy directives.
Yes, thank you.
And I would have it. So,
All right, thank you, Executive Director. So what we're referencing is page 131 of the agenda. There's a memo dated September 18th that outlines some policy directives. And these are sort of collected and based on input we received from the commission and staff. So if you could all take a moment to just review those. And then we'll go ahead and request a motion. Oh, yeah, Commissioner Fiscum,
Put this up to you so you can call on me.
that's fair.
Madam Chair, while my colleagues are reviewing this, at first blush, while I appreciate the list of policy directives, my first impression is that it may not be adequate to describe the policy directives we expect our new executive director to manage. It's maybe close and there may be some duplications in what I have to suggest, but I do have some suggestions, and without belaboring this issue too far, I'll just mention a couple of them. One, the job description does mention this a little bit, but I think we would expect our executive director to lead the effort to strike the right balance between our twin missions of education and enforcement. And that's been a hallmark of our role as in folks interested in ethics education. Sometimes enforcement is the way to educate. Secondly, I would expect a director to assess discrepancies in existing state law or based on national perspectives from such organization as COGEL to assess possible expansions of ethics laws that we ought to consider. We ought to think about that before somebody else thinks about it for us, as some legislators might do in light of last session.
Okay.
I would like to see mentioned assessing and, if appropriate, revising the Ethics Commission's media relations policy. Not that we don't have one, we do, but we ought to go through the process. We ought to expect the executive director to go through a process of assessing and reassessing that. And next, I'm almost done. We ought to expect the executive director to assess our online resources and, if appropriate, suggest additional online resources or improvement in the existing online resources. And lastly, I wrote one that I have a perspective on, but to assess the current OGEC Ethics Commission relationships with the general public and, if appropriate, suggest improvements in carrying out those relationships. So, Madam Chair, those are my suggestions, and if I don't think those need to be adopted necessarily, because they're probably going to be in the backs of our minds as we assess candidates, interview candidates anyway, I'll stop.
Thank you for those additional suggestions. Are there any other comments on the policies from commissioners or staff? Yes, Vice Chair Lindsay.
Chair Hollister, regarding number 5, I would recommend that we change it to develop and present to the commission as the first few words of number 5, because I think it would be better for the commission to approve any such policies instead of the director just unilaterally doing it. So I propose that it be changed to develop and present to the commission, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, thank you for that that recommendation. I'm wondering sort of, obviously there's an important division between the responsibilities of staff and the responsibilities of the commission. And, you know, we do rely on our staff to run the agency on a day-to-day basis, and we set the policy for the agency. So I guess I'm just trying to say out loud, I don't know what's appropriate with number 5, whether it should be a commission issue or a executive director issue. And I'm wondering, Executive Director Burson, if you have any thoughts on that. I appreciate the division of responsibility. I just don't know where the line is.
Well, you know, the diversity and equity inclusion plan, I mean, it's a requirement to DAS for us to complete those plans and review those each year, isn't it? Yeah. And so we, of course, share those with you folks, you know, at the meetings. And so, but we haven't had you vote on those in the past. And so, but I mean, I don't know if it hurt anything, but there's certain requirements that they require in those plans. And if, you know, if the commission says, well, I don't want that, you know, then we would have that kind of push and pull between what, you know, the executive branch is asking for and what the people that this director would be working for is asking for. But I mean, you're always going to be informed on anything that we put out that is underneath the, you know, umbrella of the agency. And so, but like I say, we are required to produce a plan.
And can I just ask, I mean, if imagining, you know, the future executive director creates his plan, presents it to the commission, if we had significant feedback that we wanted to provide, I would assume we could provide that feedback and it could be taken into account.
Yeah, of course. It's just, you know, there's going to be certain requirements in there that, you know, I have to keep in.
Of course.
But yeah, no, I think it's always a collective process. I don't think it's, you know, we just kind of run the agency and not tell you what's going on. But, you know, especially this time of year, the end of September, beginning of October, like all the reports are due. Like your risk. You see on here our key performance measures.
You probably should be drafting a report right now while you're in this.
Probably, you know, and like I said, Becky just got through one, they come up with, there's a new plan for continued operations.
Right.
Plan, and what did you end up with, 170 pages on that plan? So
light reading.
So it's, you know, there's a lot more planning in state government right now, but, you know, like I said, again, I think the commission's going to be involved in all of these. And if there was suggested changes, I don't think that's a problem.
So Commissioner Lindsay, I appreciate the feedback we got from Executive Director Burson. It sounds like this is sort of a collaborative process in lieu of sort of, you know, like a traditional commission vote of adoption typically. I mean, are you comfortable with that approach? Is that workable for you if we make it clear the commission is going to review and provide comment? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I had a clarifying question. So it sounds like it's, hearing what Director Burson just said, it sounds like this is something that we do annually. So are you saying that there is already a DIN/belonging plan in place? Or will this be the initial one?
You want me to speak to this one? We had one in place previously, kind of. And then we actually had a conversation with some of the representatives from DAS in the governor's office. And we actually have a plan for a plan because they wanted active engagement, not just crafting the plan, but actually implementing the plan from the entire staff and the commission, not just what we would like it to be. And so we actually have a plan for a plan in effect right now. The official plan is due next year.
Yeah, and you folks be part of that. Like I said, right now, we basically just put a placeholder in.
Okay. So,
right,
I mean,
so to just finish up my comments, there is, thank you for that clarification. And I agree with you, Chair Hollister, that our purpose is to set policy and let the staff execute on it. And And so I maintain my request that we just change number 5, that it says develop and present to the commission the plan. That's all I was trying to say.
Okay.
I'm not saying that we have all this magic power to change something. I just want it to be presented to us for our input and comment.
That's a fair point, and I feel like just having this conversation, I understand your intent a lot better. So thanks for your patience as I dug into that a little bit. I don't know how formal we need to be about revising this document, or if just the comments on that record are sufficient. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have my comments and then also Commissioner Fiscom's comments. So I think that if we were to present a resolution right now, or a motion right now, I'd say that it would be page 131 as is, plus the comments suggested by Lindsay and Fiscom.
Okay, we just got a thumbs up from our executive director, and I'm staring at our council, and they're not waving wildly. So I think we're good for a motion.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Thank you.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that we adopt and approve page 131 of the commission's agenda item today, dated September 18th, 2023, as amended, to include the comments from this meeting by Commissioner Fiscom and Vice Chair Lindsay.
Thank you. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscom,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for the discussion, and I feel confident that we're ready to proceed. I want to thank our representative from DAS for participating this morning. Certainly did an excellent job explaining where we are and where we're going, and I appreciate your time. We have one more thing. Investigator Myers, yes.
We need to vote on the position description.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Actually, we voted on it last meeting. We just revisited it just on the off chance that Barry and Jen would refuse our reclass, but they actually approved it. So we voted and accepted. Agency had 7 last go round. So we don't need to redo it unless we really want to, but we actually went over that last time when we were super optimistic.
Well, I was not there last time, so anybody have a different recollection? I'm happy to hold another vote. I mean, whatever we want to do. Oh, Commissioner Lindsay?
I
You have a
I'm
comment?
fine as is.
voted on that.
Okay,
Fine
let's,
with what we approved.
are there any other matters that we should formally address before moving into the next? Yes,
Is there seems to be
uncertainty.
uncertainty.
Let's
on-
vote.
Let's just vote.
Okay.
We have the 8 members here
All right, let's vote.
on the position description.
Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to vote on the position description. So basically what happened is this position was reclassified as agency ped 7. The description otherwise remained the same. It's the same thing that you discussed at the last meeting, which I was not present for. So I think we're ready for a motion to adopt this updated position description.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that we adopt the updated position description as presented to the commission today.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell.
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscom,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Wonderful. All right, last chance, everyone. Anything else?
That was easy, huh?
It's really straightforward. Okay. Well, it's always wonderful to have really good staff. So thank you for all your support on that. Okay, so I'm about ready to read my script. to go into executive session. Are we good to go? Should I read away?
Yes.
All right. The Oregon Government Ethics Commission will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-662F and ORS 224-260 sub 4 and ORS 171-778 sub 4. We're going to conduct preliminary reviews regarding ethics or executive session complaints and conduct preliminary reviews regarding lobby law complaints. So representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back in the room. Same goes for folks on Teams. The requirement in ORS 192-660 sub 6 requiring a final decision to be made in open session does not apply to the Commission's preliminary review proceedings. The Commission's preliminary review proceedings are confidential and are required to be conducted in executive session. See ORS 244-260 sub 4D or ORS 171-778 sub 4 sub D, which authorizes the Commission to deliberate and make its final determinations on preliminary reviews in the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed that they may report on the preliminary review proceedings in a case, including the Commission's deliberations and the final deliberations made only after the Commission has made its final determinations and adjourned the executive session. Following the conclusion of the meeting, the Commission will publicly disclose the audio recording of the executive session by posting it on the Commission's website. And actually a video recording as well. So, okay, that was a very detailed, thorough script. So hopefully we all know why we're going into executive session. I think we're ready to go into executive session.
I need just a moment.
Did we give the shot across the bow on video recordings?
No, I should probably do that.
So just so commissioners understand that we are now, if you're video recording your meetings, we will be required to post those. So be aware that your face expressions, everything in video is going to go on the website now too. So
those of you with glass faces who are going into politics, feel free to, huddle with me in the corner.
Can we get a name, image, and likeness deal like all these college athletes?
I'm sure you could. Not me, but yeah,
But that said, I'll say we're not enforcing you have to have your video on Teams policy. So whatever you do, as far as I'm concerned, speaking for myself as chair.
I apologize. I'm still working on getting people out.
No worries.
I know that Amanda Lurie, we have a member of the media, Amanda Lurie, online. Do we have any other members of the media online?
Oh, somebody just raised their hand.
Thank you, Miranda.
How about in the room?
Ben. Okay, I'm Ben. Okay. So let me finish getting people out.
We have someone in the room as well.
Yes,
As you
I'm
know.
just trying to make sure that everyone else.
Am I going in order here?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're starting with the consent calendar.
If you were me, what, Ron? I want to hear.
I would.
What would you do?
Go to 44 and get rid of them.
I mean, I don't want to make them wait around. They have work to do, so we all have our jobs.
Yeah, let's,
You're in an order? Okay. I don't know.
we've already started contacting people.
When staff disagrees, I'm completely lost. I just need to work it out.
I knew you were in charge.
Don't listen to Ron, I think.
Stop. We are clear except for members of the media and staff and commissioners online.
Thank you. Okay, so we get to do something new today, given our new statutory authority. So I'm sure you all recognize that we have a report of preliminary review on the consent calendar. And this is pertaining to our new authority to essentially review concerns about the public meetings law aside from executive session. So in addition to executive session. And so my understanding is there's sort of a requirement within a certain amount of days that you give notice and there's a cure period. And so in the instance that sort of preliminary requirement is not met, is our plan to put those on the consent agenda? I guess that's what this is what I'm
That is
asking.
what this is. The
Okay.
complaint that is in the book was filed on the very first day that we have jurisdiction. The new bill, HB 2805, includes a provision that says before a complainant files a complaint with the Ethics Commission alleging a public meetings law violation, they must first, within 30 days of the alleged violation, file a written grievance with the public body, and then wait up to 21 days for the public body to provide a response. It is only after they've done both of those things that they can file with us. If we receive one, as in this case, that didn't satisfy those statutory prerequisites, the bill requires that the commission dismiss the matter.
Okay, so that's what we have before us today. It's on the consent agenda, so I'm just gonna call for a motion on it.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move to dismiss the complaint at the end of this preliminary review for item number 20 or number 32 on the executive session agenda regarding Rod Taylor.
Thank you for that. Could we call the roll?
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Hi.
Commissioner Burke?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Chair Hollister?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
All right, thank you. Moving forward to agenda items number, I think we're going to hear 33 through 36 together because they've waived confidentiality. So we can get those folks admitted. I think everyone's appearing via Teams.
We have Mr. Mark Menelis and Micah Paulson online currently.
Okay. All right. I think we're ready for this. Oh, right. I'll just go ahead and good morning. I'm the chair of the commission. Welcome to the meeting, Mr. Paulson and Mr. Is it Manelis? Get that correct? Sorry, you're on mute.
Here, one port.
There we go. Manellis?
Sorry?
Manellis?
Manelis. Okay, Mr. Manelis and Mr. Paulson, welcome to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. We're here to hear the matters that are listed on our closed agenda. I just want to let you know how we're going to go through this proceeding. So what's going to happen first is we're going to ask our staff to go ahead and give us information about their preliminary report. And once that's done, the commissioners may ask questions of staff. After those questions have been answered, we'll go ahead and invite both of you to speak. Should you wish to do so, given the length of our agenda, I'm going to have to limit your comments to 3 minutes each. So please be cognizant of time. And then after you provide whatever statement you want to make, should you make one, we'll ask any questions we have of you. And once that's concluded, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion about how to proceed as a commission. So just want to let you know how that's going to go. And with that, I think we're ready for the staff report.
And I'm sorry, and I apologize for interrupting. We had 2 additional counselors that were to join us with this as well. They were kicked out of the meeting and they are not being allowed to rejoin, it appears.
Oh, thank you for letting us know that, Mr. Paulson. It sounds like we have a bit of a tech glitch, so we'll just take a moment to see if they can join again. I don't know if you're in contact with them via text, but you can certainly ask them to rejoin.
We are, and they're trying to rejoin, and now they're getting messages saying that the meeting is not found.
Okay. Do we have phone numbers for those individuals? We could just reach out to them by phone.
They can also call in, and the information
They were
is in
saying
the
that
text.
they were trying to call in via the phone link and it was not finding the conference ID.
Huh.
Okay, we'll call them.
I apologize
No,
Remember-
appreciate the comments. So what we're doing is staff is going to go ahead and
Jamie and I'll call Smart.
try to call them. They're welcome to continue to try to join teams. I mean, usually it works, so I'm not sure what's going on here.
Hey, Jamie, this is Charlie with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. I hear you're trying to get into our meeting today.
Hello.
Hi, this is Stephanie with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. You're on speakerphone. We are ready to hear your case.
Okay, are the others on joining right now? Because I haven't had time joining with the conference ID provided.
It's okay. You are on speakerphone in the meeting, so you can participate over the phone.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Fender. This is Amber Hollister, the chair of the commission. We're going to go ahead and proceed with the matters involving you and three of your colleagues. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and request a staff report. And then once we hear that staff report, we'll ask questions that we might have of staff about the matters before us. After that, I'll invite each one of you to provide any sort of statements or comments you want to make. Because of the length of our agenda, I'm going to have to limit the time you have to make those statements to 3 minutes. Although you're welcome to submit additional information in writing. And then we'll ask questions if we have any questions of you. And then after that is concluded, we'll go ahead as a commission to determine what motion is going to be made and how to proceed with your case.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have prepared a written statement to read on behalf of the four of us. That your time was short, so I was a little late. I was having technical difficulties.
Understood. We understand there's some technical difficulties, so I'm glad you were able to join us in this way. All right. With that, let's go ahead and have our investigative report summary.
Thank you, Chair Hollister and Commissioners. For the record, this is Monica Walker, investigator for the Commission. Items number 33 through 36 in your meeting books are preliminary review reports for Jamie Fender, the mayor of the city of King City, and Mark Manellis, Smart Okoli, and Micah Paulson, City of King City council members. All respondents have asked to attend the meeting, and they are in attendance, and all have provided a confidentiality waiver. With the chair's permission, I will present all four cases together as they are all the same.
Please do so. Thank you.
Two separate complaints were received in these cases, one of which was treated as a duplicate complaint. Thus, each of the reports in your books will only reflect one case number. The complaints allege that the mayor and the three council members for the city of King City may have attempted to use their official positions to obtain a financial benefit and fail to disclose their conflicts of interest by participating in the discussion, debate, and vote to adopt an ordinance for a city transportation system plan, a TSP, that could affect the property value of their respective residences. Council members convened 3 regular session meetings in May and June of 2023 to discuss recommendations made to consider the adoption of the proposed TSP. Based on information obtained during this preliminary review, the proposals listed within the TSP, such as the expansion of city limits, improvements to the community, addition of bicycle and pedestrian paths, and the possibility of right-of-ways, could have a financial impact on the property values of the mayor and the council members' properties. Thus, the mayor and the councilors could have been faced with a potential conflict of interest when considering the matters relating to the TSP. From a review of the meeting minutes, when the council met to discuss, consider, and vote on the adoption of the TSP, no one disclosed any conflicts of interest. Because none of the council members made a public announcement of a conflict of interest prior to taking action in regard to the adoption of the TSP, it appears they may have been in violation of ORS 244-120, subsection 2, subsection A. It does not appear, however, that the mayor and the councilors violated the use of office provisions, as they did not appear to have taken any actions or made proposals that would have provided them with a financial benefit that would not otherwise have been available. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, unless the commission determines that a class exists, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that the mayor and city council members for the city of King City may have violated the conflict of interest provisions under ORS 244-120 subsection 2. Therefore, the reports that are in your meeting books recommends moving these cases to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Walker, for that summary. At this point, I'd like to invite my fellow commissioners to ask any questions they might have of staff. No questions on the phone. Oh, yes, please, Commissioner Thompson.
Can you tell me a little bit about if you go to investigation, what you'll be looking for?
We'll be looking forward to see if the approvals or the votes that were made would indeed have created that potential conflict of interest. So we began gathering more information and records on that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, just quickly, is there any class issue involved in this? I apologize for the feeble question.
Sure, that would be up to the commission to decide whether a class exception exists. So if the commission determines that a class exists, then that would change.
Will your review provide information on that subject for us? The class issue? Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for those questions. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we can go ahead and move to, excuse me, sorry, just taking it back. I think we can go ahead and invite Ms. Fender to share her comments. My understanding was that it would just be you speaking, but others are welcome to speak should they wish to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Chair Hollister and Commissioners. Before I begin, I would like to share that I know Chair Hollister and Commissioner Payne. I recognize our relationship as friendly acquaintances. We have never spoken. We do sometimes attend Oregon State Bar and related functions. I also have interactions with Chair Hollister through our various roles in Oregon State Bar. You are aware from your staff reports, I serve as mayor of King City, and with me today are City Councilors Manellis, Paulson, and Trolley. I am a practicing attorney. I do not represent my colleagues in any professional capacity. I appreciate the time and work that went into preparing the staff reports, but we would like to provide you with a little additional information and context. King City is required by law to implement a transportation system plan, TSP for short, now that King City has over 5,000 residents. These actions are not discretionary, and the city has ultimately been working on this process for over 10 years. Growth in any small city is very challenging. We estimate about 75 people who vehemently oppose this and the extension of a road known as Fisher Road. Has orchestrated a campaign of intimidation and misinformation, and in my opinion, causing great harm to our community. You may recall from media coverage, our former mayor's house was spray painted with no Fisher Road. The group was also responsible in part for the city back in the late 90s and early 2000s. OGEC complainant Mr. Meyer, OGEC complainant Mr. Johnson, and a gentleman named Gary Woods, who will implement leaders of this opposition. 2022, Mr. Meyer was appointed to the King City Planning Commission concern of his conflict of interest and apparent hatred of King City. Concerns we appointed him as we felt his oppositional opinion had equal right to be heard. To understand that Mr. Meyer owns property from the new northern border of King City to the southern border of King City, meaning that all roads constructed in February of this year, the Planning Commission neared the time to hold the public hearings on the transportation system recommendation of our city attorney. We asked Mr. Meyer to recuse himself from the vote because all decisions involved in some capacity. Meyer refused. Although under our charter, I had exclusive authority to simply remove Mr. Meyer as the Planning Commission, I did not believe that unilateral action was good government. I felt Mr. Meyer should be afforded the opportunity to hear concerns and address them, and that any decision rendered should be that of the council as a whole. 3 hours with Mr. Meyer discussing in an open forum our concerns. He vehemently denied he had any conflicts of interest and refused to recuse himself from the upcoming vote. The council felt therefore he must be removed. During this time, Mr. Meyer alleged that all councilors on the city council had conflicts of interest because we live on roads in King City in the future be extended. We all live in constructed roads. Mr. These roads do not currently exist. Change will take place to any of the roads that we currently live on. At the boundary of the city. We continue on at some point. Mr. Meyer's land, however, and his property will change. There will be no change to our land or property as a future extension of the road in the city. During these early discussions, regarding Mr. Meyer, our city attorney advised us here today that we have no conflict or actual. Because the agent stated without any supporting evidence that he felt our values would diminish if the road was extended, creates the conflict. Mr. Meyer also pointed to the home sale that went through his evidence. The only question is that of the aforementioned Gary Woods. The real estate agent also happens to be a member of this opposition group. Homes in the same neighborhood as Mr. Wood and the 4 of us here today have sold since Mr. Meyer filed his OGEC complaint. You should also be aware that this group has attempted to initiate a recall of the council except Shauna Thompson, who was the individual councilor who made a statement regarding our property values. None of us believe we have a conflict of interest, either actual or potential. We came to this conclusion under the city council and by our own experiences. Us did make disclosures out of an abundance of caution. The public hearings regarding the transportation system. We were all advised and firmly believe we have no conflicts. Lastly, it is also important to note that there were only 2 public hearings in question. May 17, 2023 was the transportation system plan hearing. That record was left open and the hearing was continued to June 14th, 2023. June 21st, 2023 was the public hearing for the master plan. Me personally, I made disclosures at both the May 17th hearing and the June 21st public hearing, but I did not make a disclosure at the June 14th public hearing because the record was still open and under the advice of council, I was not required to restate my disclosures because the record had not been closed. It should also be understood by the commission how close in proximity all city councilors live. We live within walking distance of each other and to Fisher Road. We are mere houses away from each other and the road. The boundary of King City abruptly stops at all western roads. They abruptly stop and are just simply stuck out. All of us, and I would say anyone looking at the roads, immediately understands that these roads were designed to continue on at some point. We all knew these roads would continue on at some point at the time we bought our homes. Honestly, we are committed to transparency and integrity. At our council meeting on Wednesday night, we disclosed these complaints and requested that an agenda item be placed on each council meeting going forward to provide an update to our residents and our city until a final resolution is achieved. We appreciate the importance of the work that you do. We strenuously believe these complaints were submitted as a way to further embarrass, intimidate, and harass. Further support this opposition group's recall attempts. Their recall petition was revoked yesterday. The city's outside legal counsel determined the petition to have material falsehoods and misleading information. We would be happy to address any questions that you have, should you choose. With an investigation, we also welcome the opportunity to work with you and believe that you will ultimately agree we have violated no ethical rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Appreciate your comments. I understand that you are the only one who will be making comments today okay, I'm seeing head nods. Okay, terrific. Thank you for your comments. They're well taken. I want to invite my commissioners to ask any questions they might have of you or the other individuals named. Are there any questions from any of us? I understand we had a little bit of a technical difficulty as Ms. Bender was relaying her comments, but I think that improved. I'm hoping that folks could hear better as the comments went on. Okay, terrific.
I'm happy to provide a copy of the written as well if anyone should want to read them.
You're welcome to do that. You're welcome to submit them and they'll be part of the record by all means. You're welcome. Any questions from the commission about the matter before us? I'm not seeing any questions. So the recommendation of staff is to move to investigate in each one of these cases. I will say that oftentimes in these matters, it is to the best interest of everyone to complete an investigation prior to a determination, even if that determination is to dismiss, because it does sort of allow for a deeper kind of closure and to resolve any unanswered questions prior to the dismissal. Our investigatory period is very short under Oregon statute, and so there is some advantage, I think, to moving forward to an investigation. I do want to say that if the commission determines to proceed with an investigation, it's in no way a determination of any violation of any ethics rules. It's just a determination that we are going to investigate further. Yes, Commissioner Fiscum.
Madam Chair, I was going to say what you just said in the last comment, especially because those who testified today have indicated that their intent to be transparent with their constituents or the other residents of King City. And so to the extent that we do decide to move ahead, if in fact that's the decision, it needs to be very clear that that is not a decision that an ethics violation has in fact occurred. It is a need for more information. That's first comment. Second comment is my hesitancy, as in all cases of this sort that come before us, to get involved in what is really, without a better label, a local dispute among parties. It creates tension in my mind when that opportunity, possibility arises. This appears to be another one of those cases, which creates unease for me.
Appreciate that feedback. Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Sure.
Yes, please, Commissioner Thompson.
I completely agree with Commissioner Fiscum, and with the addition that as this investigation goes forward, I will be interested to see how our previous rulings on the class exemption would play in here, because it seems to me like there's more than one person that lives on these streets and things of that nature. So I will be very interested to see how it goes forward there. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Okay, Vice Chair Lindsay, are you prepared to make a motion?
I am, Chair Hollister. I agree with the comments that it would be good to complete the investigation. Therefore, I hereby move that the commission find that there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Jamie Fender may have violated ORS 2441202, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lindsay. At this point, I'd like to invite discussion from my fellow commissioners, if there is any discussion. I might just make a quick comment, which is, in reviewing the investigatory report, this does seem like a case where every one of the city councilors was seeking to be above board, to be open about their interests, and their property. And so I'm convinced that, they were seeking to act in good faith. And I in my mind, that is clear from the record. Of course, we're here to determine whether or not everyone complied with the Oregon government ethics rules and or laws, and so that's what we'll do. But I think it's important to sort of note the intent of the parties involved. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, I think we're ready to call the question.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke. Commissioner Burke,
Can't hear.
thumbs up. Aye, okay. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCulley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, I think we're ready to move forward with a motion on agenda item number 34, Vice Chair.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that the commission find that there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Mark Manilis, item number 3 on our agenda, may have violated ORS 244120 sub 2, and that the commission should expand its investigation. Should investigate accordingly.
Thank you. Call the question.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke. Thumbs up. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCulley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Looking forward to
Chair
agenda
Hollister.
item number 35. Yes.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Smart Bacoli, item number 35 on our agenda, may have violated ORS 244120 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Call the question. Read the rolls.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke. Thumbs up. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCulley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Agenda item number
Chair.
36.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Micah Paulson, agenda item number 36 on our agenda, may have violated ORS 244120 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioner Burke. Thumbs up. Aye. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCulley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. For each respondent that has joined us today, thank you for your participation. At this point, of course, there's been no decision about whether or not there's been an ethics violation. I want to make that very clear. All we've decided is that we'd like to give our staff the opportunity to gather additional facts. So we will be in touch with you with any follow-up questions you might have. I really want to thank you for your patience with this process and your willingness to sort of share and get us the information we need to conclude this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's hope we have better technology. Good luck. Okay, so we're moving to number 37.
37 through 39. We do have the attorney and the respondent online. Just one moment.
Okay. So in your notes, it looks like there's just Paul Dicopoulos and his attorney Elliot Field are appearing.
And Deb Baker.
And Deb Baker.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Paul and Elliot are attorneys.
He should be online now.
Okay.
Paul's coming up right now.
Good morning. This is Amber Hollister. I'm the Ethics Commission Chair. Welcome. I understand we have respondent Deb Baker on the line, as well as two attorneys, Paul Dacopoulos and Elliot Field?
Yes.
Okay, welcome. So I'm not sure how familiar council is with this process. I'll give a quick rundown. Basically, what we're going to do this morning is invite our staff to provide a summary of the preliminary investigation report. And once they've done that, the commission will be able to ask questions of staff. After we've concluded that process, I'll turn to you or your counsel, whomever wishes to speak. You're welcome to make a statement or provide comments. Because of the length of our agenda, I'm going to need to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And then after you've submitted sort of whatever you'd like to share, we may have questions for you. So we'll ask for your assistance in getting those resolved. After that concludes, we'll go ahead and move on to the motion phase where the commission makes a motion about how to proceed in the matter and votes. So that's how we're going to handle our time today. And I will go ahead and just turn to staff to request a summary of the investigative report.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, this is Investigator Hillary Marietta. Agenda items 37 through 39 in your books are preliminary review reports for Macy Clark, Mark Wing, and Deb Baker, school board members for Union School District. They are represented by Elliot Field. I'm not sure, I don't think Mr. Field is here today, but his colleague Paul Dacopoulos is here. The complaint in this case alleges that Macy Clark, Mark Ween, and Deb Baker violated ORS 192.660 by holding an unauthorized executive session on June 21st, 2023. The executive session was held under ORS 192.660 sub 2B, which provides a governing body may hold an executive session to consider the dismissal or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent who does not request an open hearing. The complainant, Jay Blackburn, alleges that he was the public official who was the subject of the executive session because he was subject to the dismissal or discipline. However, it appears that Mr. Blackburn brought a complaint against Carter Wells, the superintendent, who elected to discontinue Mr. Blackburn's contract as coach, as Mr. Blackburn was already paid and a decision was rendered by Mr. Wells. Mr. Blackburn had no additional recourse under the extra duty contract because he was not an employee. He was not being disciplined or dismissed during the executive session. Instead, it appears that Superintendent Wells was the subject of the executive session because Mr. Blackburn did ask the board to hear his complaint brought against Mr. Wells. Because Mr. Wells was the subject of the complaint, the board was required to provide him with written notification of the meeting, as well as information on how to make a request for an open hearing. According to Mr. Wells, he never received a written notification or information on how to request an open hearing. The recommendation in your books is to move this case to investigation. And I wanted to let Mr. Dacopoulos know that the commissioners have received a copy of the supplement or information provided by Mr. Field.
Thank you, Investigator Marietta, for that report. Do we have any questions for staff on this matter, commissioners? Okay. Well, then I'll go ahead and invite, I guess, counsel. Did you intend to speak today, or was your client going to address us?
I would like to speak today. Thank you.
Welcome.
Directors. My name is Paul Dacopoulos. I am standing in for Elliot Fields. I am familiar with this process. I've represented public school districts for 30 plus years. I do want to draw to your attention that the recommendation is that these board members violated the commission's OAR in 199.040.0030 because it did not provide notice to the superintendent that he could have an open hearing. You have in your packet, I hope, these declarations from Carter Wells and from the board chair. It's abundantly clear that the superintendent had notice, and he says in section 6 of his declaration, through my communications with the district, I was on notice weeks before June the before June 21, 2023, that a hearing would take place relating to Blackburn's complaint against me, the time, date, and location of the hearing, and that I could make a request for an open hearing. There's a similar declaration from the board chair, Macy Clark, in which she makes it clear that this was discussed with the superintendent. So, this is a weird situation in that most school boards rely on the superintendent and the superintendent's office to make the board agenda for an executive session. So in essence, Mr. Superintendent Wells would have been sending himself a written notice informing himself that he could have an open or closed hearing and the date of the hearing, et cetera. So is this a technical violation of an administrative rule? I think you could find that, but the administrative rule is designed to give the public employee who is the subject of a complaint a notification of their rights to a hearing in executive session or in public session. And Superintendent Wells had that. He knew his options weeks before the hearing. And to require him to send a notice to himself to notify him of his rights seems like form over substance. So we don't feel like there's any good reason for the commission to go ahead and investigate this complaint because the district certainly satisfied the requirements of, the substantive requirements of the administrative rule. This was a legal executive session. The superintendent had, he knew what his rights were and exercised his rights long before the hearing itself. So we urge the commission to dismiss the complaint.
Thank you, council, for your comments. I'd like to turn to my fellow commissioners to see if they have any questions for you. Any questions for council? Okay. I'm not seeing any questions. I will say this is sort of an interesting case in which the complainant brought a claim, assuming that he was the subject of the executive session. And then it seems that that was not the case. It was Mr. Wells was actually the subject of the executive session. So a little bit of a twist there.
It is a twist, and I think there was some initial confusion with Mr. Blackburn over this, but there was no confusion at the district level. And I think if you review Mr. Fields' response to Hillary Murrieta, you'll find that this was a well-planned and completely legal executive session relating to a complaint against the superintendent. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
You're welcome. I'm not seeing any questions from the commission. And is there any discussion? Are we ready to move to a motion?
Madam Chair, I just have one maybe just a question. I was wondering if, in light of Mr. DeCopolis' statement, if our investigator had any response to that statement. If I'm not putting you on the spot inappropriately, but I would appreciate your comments if you have some.
It doesn't change anything for me because ultimately Mr. Wells was not provided a written notification on requesting an open hearing. And on top of that, when I spoke to him, he thought it was policy that he was required to have this type of complaint in executive session. That was his understanding of school policy. So I don't even know if, he wasn't provided the written notification, and I don't know if he was aware that he could have it in. There's just some discrepancy with what I received from Mr. Field, and then when I talked to Mr. Wells, and I would prefer to confirm that information in investigation as well.
Madam Chair, just one quick follow-up. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do you have any comment on the notion from our council that the issue was one of form over substance? he did know, Mr. Wells did know and didn't actually send himself a note, but form over substance. Again,
Yeah, I mean, the honest
if you
is,
have no response, no pressure.
I'm happy to respond. The onus is ultimately on the school board members. It's not on this having staff do these things anyways. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for those questions. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none. Commissioner Lindsay, are you prepared to make?
Yes, Chair Hollister. Yes, I appreciate the comments and the transparency, and I do think it's personally my opinion is that we just need to complete the investigation, do our job, and button things up carefully. So therefore, I hereby move that the commission continue its investigation of Macy Clark, agenda item 37. Or actually that the commission find that there is a substantial and objective basis for believing that Ms. Clark may have violated ORS 192.660 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindsay. Any discussion on that motion? I'm going to throw just a comment in related to Investigator Murrieta's statement about the policy. I mean, the policy that we received does seem to very, very clearly state that this has to happen in executive session. It seems like that might be an issue that the school board wants to look at, since it does seem to perhaps be inconsistent with the law in Oregon on public meetings. So just for the record. Okay, seeing no discussion, I think we're ready to call the vote.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke? Can I get a thumbs up? I can't.
Thumbs up.
Okay, it's cut off on maybe, sorry. Chair Hollister? Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, thank you, counsel, for your time. Thank you to your client, the respondent. We've got 2 more to go, and I guess you're representing everyone, so keep going. All right.
Yeah, Chair Hollister, regarding agenda item 38 on our agenda item number 38, I move that the commission find that there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Mark Wing may have violated ORS 192.660 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke? Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Chair Hollister?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, let's move on.
Before you go on to the next one, I wonder if I might have just 30 seconds. I know I know you're going to vote on the third one, but I just would like to make one statement.
About our vote, or sorry, counsel, what is your statement regarding that you're proposing to make?
I'm proposing to make a statement about the issue of the school board policy and the superintendent's knowledge of the school board policy.
Counsel, I think I'm going to let you save that information to share with staff as part of the ongoing investigation. I appreciate, your thoughts, and I do want you to share that information so it's part of the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go ahead and proceed to the next matter.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Deb Baker, agenda item number 39, may have violated ORS 192.660 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you. Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke? Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Chair Hollister?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you. So with that, I just want to make it clear that we have not made any determination today that there's been a violation of ethics law in Oregon. All we've determined is to continue our investigation so that we can resolve this matter appropriately. Thank you for your participation today, and our staff will be in touch with you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, moving on. We're going to go on to 40.
Yeah. We have an attorney and respondent present for this.
Oh,
next
okay.
one.
In person.
Yes, but his wife has also attended,
Okay.
Mr. Lovell's, and he would need your permission to attend.
I'm fine with that. If she wants to sit in the gallery, I don't think she needs to sit at the table.
Okay, thank you.
Moral support. Good morning. I understand we have attorney Stephen Dingle here and hello. Respondent David, could you please help me with the pronunciation of your name?
Lovell.
Lovell. Okay, terrific. I'm the chair of the commission, Amber Hollister. Welcome. Basically, we're going to hear your matter this morning, and the way that that's going to go is we're going to ask our investigator to just summarize the initial report, and we might have questions for our investigator. And then after that, we will invite either you or your counsel to address the commission. Because of the length of our agenda, I'm going to need to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And you're welcome to submit any additional information you have in writing. After that, we will ask any questions we have of you and your counsel just to follow up. And then we'll proceed to consider a motion on how to proceed. And I understand you've invited your wife to join here, and I'm assuming you're waiving confidentiality for her to participate. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Terrific. I think we're ready to proceed with the staff report.
Okay. For the record, this is Monica Walker, Commission Investigator. Thank you, Chair Hollister and Commissioners. Agenda item 40 in your meeting books is a preliminary review report for an ethics violation involving David Lovell, Commissioner for the Lane County Board of Commissioners. Mr. Lovell's attorney, Stephen Dingle, notified that he and his client are planned to attend, and they are here in person. The complaint alleges that Mr. Lovell may have violated the use of office and conflict of interest provisions by attempting to further his personal gain through the use of confidential information obtained in the course of holding his position as a public official. In his official capacity, Mr. Lovell is a board member for the Springfield Economic Development Agency, CEDA, and a Lane County Commissioner. Mr. Lovell also owns a business, Masaka Properties LLC. The information received indicates that Mr. Lovell may have been met with a conflict of interest during a CEDA meeting in which he did not declare. As it appears, he made funding decisions and took actions that could have resulted in additional CEDA funding being available for projects, such as projects being developed by Masaka. Given this information, Mr. Lovell's failure to declare his potential conflict of interest appears to have violated ORS 244120, subsection 2. Additionally, with respect to the use of office provisions, it appears in this case that Mr. Lovell may have provided confidential information gained from CEDA executive session meetings to his business partner, Bob Miller. Information in which Mr. Miller may have used to submit a request to CEDA for funding of a Masaka project. Thus, with the information gathered in this preliminary review, it would appear Mr. Lovell may have violated the provisions of ORS 244040, subsection 1 and subsection 4. Based on the information obtained, it appears there is substantial objective basis in this case to believe that violations of the prohibited use of office under ORS 244040, subsection 1 and subsection 4, as well as the conflict of interest statutes under ORS 244120, subsection 2, may have occurred. Therefore, the report that is in your meeting books recommends moving this to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Walker, for that report. Do we have questions from the commission for staff? I guess I have one question, if I might. I mean, I was reading your report and the summary of the news articles on what had occurred here. And I mean, it seemed to me that the information in the news articles you could read the news articles and end up with the information in this request that was submitted by Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller's description of what Mr. Lovell did. And so I'm just trying to, no, it's the other way, sorry. Mr. Miller was the business associate. Okay, but if I read the Register Guard, it seems like all of the facts in the Register Guard are sort of in his request and vice versa. It doesn't seem, I'm not seeing the delta. Like, what's the information, the confidential information that we think was in Mr. Miller's letter?
So I think in our investigation, we would seek to indicate whether it was public knowledge that CETA was actually ready to make funding available for other developers.
Okay, so it's not the fact that this other project was stalled that we think was confidential information. It's the fact that there was a potential funding opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. That's
You're
helpful.
welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to invite counsel. Are you going to speak on behalf of your client or?
I'd like to be lawyerly and ask if I could split it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to give him.
No, it's up to you.
I want to give him an opportunity to. I'll just be extremely brief. The question that the chair raises is exactly. There's two issues here. Obviously, there's the declaration, and then there's the alleged disclosure of private or confidential information from the executive session. I understand what the standard is here. I don't understand what more can be done when you have both my client and Mr. Miller are prepared to execute affidavits that there was no information shared. And in fact, Mr. Lovell, based on the advice of his previous counsel, said, I can't talk to you about this. So I'm not really sure who's going to be interviewed that's going to say that they were part of a conversation that contradicts what they said, which is that Mr. Lovell said, here's what was discussed in executive session, and here's how I think we should use it. Clearly, that would be a violation that has been, like I said, unequivocally denied by both of the people who were involved in the conversation. And just briefly on the declaration, that was an issue that, again, I'm very confused by that in the sense that I'm going to set aside my own experience in how I organize things. But I want to correct or at least challenge one thing. There was not a decision made in the June 5th meeting. There was no decision made. So there was no conflict of interest at that point. And at the very next opportunity, when you'll hear later if it goes further, that there were executive sessions that he was not a part of and that he was excluded from. At the next public session, he did declare the potential conflict of interest. I think it's important to understand that timeline. And finally, I do want to emphasize, I understand that it is a low standard. The question by the chair is exactly where we focused the information. It didn't require psychic ability or special knowledge to figure out that that the Blue McKinsey project was in trouble, that it wasn't going to go forward, or at least there was the possibility that it wasn't going to go forward. And that was the point of putting out all that information that I put in my statement on behalf of. That's all I have, and I want to leave. I know he has some points that he wants to make, and I will do that. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Lovell, would you like to make some comments?
Thank you, Chair Committee. Thanks for the opportunity. Your question does bring up a great point, Chair, that the point that there was somehow funds now releasable or available from that executive session is not true. Those funds that CETA has are dictated funds by that executive session, would not have released any funds that weren't available prior. Masaka Properties has done 7 different builds in downtown Springfield. At every turn, we've approached CETA to help us on that, have been denied for whatever reason. We've been in the developing business 17 years in that particular area of town. In this particular project, we had 2 other opportunities prior to me taking office to where we applied for CEDA help and were denied because they said there was no funds available because of their response was because of the wildfire that happened upriver, which was categorically untrue. The other thing is that executive session that was on June 5th was not about whether the project was spoiled or not. It was about an entirely different matter that was being discussed. And that was, I don't know if I can share that with you, but.
Not unless you want it to be public record.
What's that?
This will all be public.
Okay, so then we'll not. So there was an entirely different matter. So what your observation is very astute, is that this knowledge among the developer circuit, which I'm a part of, obviously, banking people and other developers within the area knew this project was going sideways. Further, in that particular timeline, the banking industry was going through a hellacious increase in interest rates. As you all know, there was 4 other projects in downtown Springfield that were hinging upon substantially tenuous kind of financial circumstances. My statement in that executive meeting was not to gain money for myself, which in the exchange of all this happening, we did gain no value. What my partner was requesting was simply a loan application. But since then, these 4 other projects have since fallen off and have not been completed in downtown Springfield. Our project is the only project, now that we've gotten a third party to help out with financing, will get to the finish line. So in my advocation of trying to get CEDA to look at other projects so that the economic development of Springfield would continue, that was my purpose for that comment. The alleged timing of the incident too is also problematic in my mind. On the 10th of the month, Bob Miller and I pay bills. That's our day we pay bills. The 9th of the month, obviously, we have a discussion about where we are financially. So therefore, the timing that they're trying to say the 5th through the 9th looks suspicious. It was because we had a meeting on the 9th and said, hey, this project may turn south, we may follow south. He said, what do you want me to do? You want me to contact CEDA? And I said, I can't be a part of that. My recommendation is you get an email to Ms. Camp, the economic developer, and just see what happens. I can't be a part of that. Subsequently, after his email, Kristen Denmark, my attorney at the time, had an email conversation with Mary Bridget Smith, the counsel for the city of Springfield, and had said, how does Lovell want to proceed with this? And my response in writing at that point was, I have no control over what my partner is asking. He has independently gone to the city for advice or for a direction of where to go next. I'm out. I can't be a part of that. And that was documented in that email. So according to the ethics of what I was set up and told with Kristen before I took office, I followed that explicitly. And then I also want to make a point too that as my counsel had said, that there was 2 other exec meetings after June 5th that were arranged without my knowledge. In fact, if I might be so bold, surreptitiously without my knowledge, therefore denying me the right under OS 244 of whether to make this complaint public or not. Whereas when my counsel had said that the first I heard about it was in a public meeting after they were drawing up for a vote about the complaint. So I had no option of saying, look, this can be private or public, which is what my right is as a person a complaint is filed against. So they denied me that right. So I think there's some procedural things here that also need to be looked at. This could be a weaponized kind of thing, which I believe it is. Thank you.
Appreciate those comments. Just to be clear, I think if you have concerns about those other meetings and how they were handled, we would need to get a complaint from you on that to investigate. So I just want to make clear the scope of our conversation today is just about this matter. Any questions from commissioners for Mr. Lovell or his counsel? Yeah, Commissioner Lindsay.
The declaration that I guess people are prepared to say the declarations have not yet been signed and have not yet been submitted, correct?
Not understand the question.
Is that directed to me?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You mean in terms of like an affidavit or declaration from Mr. Lovell?
Yeah, you said that the 2 gentlemen were prepared to. I think you said prepared to sign a declaration. Those have not yet been signed, not yet submitted, correct?
No, but they're willing that we could have those by close of business today.
Thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts on this one? I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to hear the commission's thoughts on sort of how we would get to preponderance of evidence on this if we were to investigate. We have 2 sworn statements, which I believe, based on the representation of counsel, would appear. saying that there was no conversation that took place. I mean, in an instance like that, it seems like we'd have to be able to point to some external evidence that, made it clear there was confidential information disclosed. And I'm not seeing that. I mean, it seems like sort of an ordinary investor or in the community could infer from the very public failing of this project that there might be funding freed up. It doesn't seem like sort of, so I'm struggling with this one. Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, Chair Hollister, I'm with you there. My impression, the only thing I'm hung up on is whether we need to wait for the declarations to be submitted or not. I mean, do we move to investigate and then those declarations are submitted and therefore done? Or do we move to dismiss now on the condition that the declarations are submitted? If they're not, then we can reopen. I'm inclined to do the latter.
Madam Chair, I would concur with the Vice Chair in that regard. I believe I would concur. The question I had, which he's asked, I guess, is do we assume the declarations would come in, Mr. Respondent, by the close of business and thus have that be the rationale for moving forward, or do we wait till those arrive? I believe I would be able to vote with the Vice Chair if he makes such a motion. Thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that we have discretion as the commission to decide how to proceed. And certainly, if you'd like our staff to investigate this further, I think we could move to request that they do so. In terms
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, please.
Chair Hollister, conditioned on the respondents submitting the two represented declarations.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Lindsay, I'm getting a nod from council that might be outside the scope of our authority. I think we have to either go ahead and move to investigate or dismiss. And so we're not allowed to make a conditional motion
All right.
to that end.
I'm still prepared to make a motion then.
Okay, please.
Yeah, Chair Hollister, based on the representations of respondents' counsel, I move that the commission find that the complaint and information available during the preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that David Lovall, agenda item 40, has violated the cited statutes. Or warrant for the review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Okay, thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion on the motion from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Thompson.
Madam Chair, I'll support the motion based on representations from council, but also, I mean, it seems like, we got Register Guard and KEZI TV, and this is, I mean, this doesn't appear to have just come from one place. So I'm comfortable with the dismissal.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisco? No. Okay. Any other comments from commissioners or discussion about the motion before we call the roll? Okay, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell? Aye. Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Aye.
Commissioner Burke? Thumbs up. Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Chair Hollister?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, council, and yes, you're
We
welcome.
did so much back and forth. Do you want?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we don't. We take you at your word that you would produce one, and that was the basis of our motion. So we're trusting that you're an honorable attorney.
There is such a thing. I am, Chair.
All right.
Thank you, committee, for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
As an
Appreciate the
attorney, you can
wild,
say that.
wild head on.
You and I can never say that.
Keep it on.
All right.
You want to take a bio break?
Yeah, why don't we do that? I'm sorry. I just keep cranking. You guys should trip me or something. Let's do that. We'll take a 10-minute break. Does that sound okay? Do you want more?
Oh,
10 minutes. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go, back on the horse. All right, folks, we're going to reconvene in executive session, and we've got plenty more work to do. So it looks like next up is agenda item number 41, and I believe we have Bob Steringer joining us.
And Jason Snyder.
And Jason just, that's okay. There we go. I see Mr. Snyder and there's Mr. Steringer. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Welcome to the meeting. I'm Amber Hollister. I'm the commission chair. We're happy you're able to join us today. What we're going to do is go ahead and hear a staff summary regarding the matter at hand. And then after staff summarizes it, we'll probably ask them some questions. After that, I'll turn to either you, Mr. Snyder, or your counsel, if you'd prefer to make any sort of statement on the record. We do have a hefty agenda today, so I'm asking folks to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And then once you comment, we might have questions for you. Once that process is concluded, we'll go ahead and consider what motion to make, either move to investigate further or dismiss the matter. So just to give you a little roadmap of where we're going, that's how we're going to get started. Okay, so with that, let's turn to staff.
All right, thank you, Chair Hollister and commissioners. For the record, this is Monica Walker, investigator for the commission. Agenda item number 41 in your meeting books is a preliminary review report for an ethics case involving Jason Snyder, former mayor of the city of Tigard. Mr. Snyder's attorney, Robert Seringer, notified that he and his client, Jason Snyder, will be attending via MS Teams, and they are here today. This matter arose from a complaint filed which alleged that Jason Snyder, former mayor of the city of Tigard, may have violated the use of office and conflict of interest provisions by attempting to use his official position to obtain a financial gain for a business with which he is associated, and that he may have done so without properly declaring a conflict of interest. From the information gathered and per the report in your books, Mr. Snyder is the owner of several properties located within the city of Tigard. In conjunction with his business partner, Chris Skaggs, principal of Aria Touch LLC, a business with which Mr. Snyder is associated, submitted 2 separate master land use applications to the city of Tigard in September of 2019. Per the response received, these permits were expected to be approved and issued no later than December 31st of 2019. In November of 2019, during a city council meeting, then Mayor Jason Snyder participated in the legislative public hearing to consider an ordinance to adopt a construction excise tax, a CET, for the city of Tigard, which would apply to permits issued on or after January 1st of 2020. During this public hearing, Mayor Snyder made a comment that he would like to see the CET on missing middle closer to 25% to zero so that construction would be encouraged. His comments, while having already submitted the land use applications for a business with which he is associated, does not appear to indicate that Mr. Snyder may have been required, or does appear, to indicate that Mr. Snyder may have been required to disclose a conflict of interest prior to his participation in the public hearing. Thus, Mayor Snyder's action in attempting to suggest amendments to the CET that could or would result in a financial benefit or the avoidance of a financial detriment to him and or Aria Touch LLC without first disclosing a conflict of interest appears to be a violation of ORS 244-120 subsection 2, unless the commission decides that a class exception applies. There is also the question of whether Mr. Snyder engaged in a prohibited use of position when he participated in the discussion at the public hearing. Without knowing for sure if the land use application submitted by Mr. Snyder and Aria Touch LLC would be approved and issued before the CET went into effect, and by proposing that the CET ordinance offer greater exceptions for middle housing development applications, Mr. Snyder may have been using his position to avoid a financial detriment by making it possible for him and his development partner to pay lower permit taxes than would otherwise be possible but for his holding of his position as mayor. Because of this, it appears Mr. Snyder may have violated ORS 244-040 subsection 1. Considering this information, It appears there is substantial objective basis in this case to believe that violations of the use of office and conflict of interest statutes may have occurred. Therefore, the report that is in your meeting books recommends moving this case to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Walker, for your summary. Any questions from the commission for staff on this matter? I know staff has flagged a potential class exception issue here, so that's something we probably need to think about. Questions on that? Okay. All right. I think we're ready to proceed. Mr. Seringer, if you'd like to make some comments, I'd invite you to do so.
Thank you, Chair Hollister, members of the commission. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. We had the opportunity to submit 2 letters to the commission. I know you have those in your packets, and so especially in light of your time constraints, I won't go over all of those points. I will just say briefly that we've raised a number of issues in connection with the complaint. First is that the timing is really important in connection with the commission's consideration of the allegation that Mr. Snyder was operating under a conflict of interest. As Ms. Walker explained, and as we explained in more detail in our materials, Mr. Snyder did not believe that the ordinance that was under consideration was going to apply to the properties that he was involved with because he expected those permits to be issued before the end of the year and before that ordinance went into effect. That's something that he confirmed and contemporaneously discussed with the city manager immediately after the vote on that matter. And then, of course, we've also raised the class exception, which has been noted. It is clear that this is an ordinance that applied to all owners or potential developers of residential real estate in the city of Tigard. Mr. Snyder was a member of that class, and the ordinance itself applied equally to anybody who was in that position. And so we would ask the commission to also determine that the class exemption applies here. On the 244040 issue of use of office, we've explained in our submission that this is, I think we're talking about a square peg kind of situation here in which that statute is designed to address circumstances in which a public official obtains a benefit that is only available to them because they are a public official, the types of things that the commission deals with on a regular basis. This is not that type of situation. This ordinance was generally applicable and, as mentioned earlier, would apply to all residential landowners. And so even if Mr. Snyder had obtained a benefit in these circumstances, it was not because of his position as a public official. It was because of his position as a private individual who would be affected by that ordinance. The last thing I'd say quickly is to emphasize that Mr. Snyder did not receive any benefit even in the end in connection with this ordinance. He did not have permits that were subject to the CET approved while it was in effect, and he no longer holds interests in either of those properties at this time. And so that would be another reason that 040 could not apply here, because he did not in the end obtain a benefit. I'm going to wrap up because I know Mr. Snyder wanted to share just a few words, and I know we're running out of time here. But thank you.
Thank you, Council. Mr. Snyder, please welcome to address the commission.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all allowing virtual participation. I wanted to acknowledge that in my full-time work. I'm a operational leader at Kaiser Permanente, and our workforce is on strike right now. It would have been very difficult for me to attend in person, so I appreciate that. I just want to mention that I believe I handled the situation appropriately at the time. I will say the question the city manager asked me immediately after the meeting in question did cause me to become more sensitive and frankly reevaluate how I considered what others might think is a conflict of interest or a potential conflict, even if I don't. And I became, through that process, just much more aware. And I think, frankly, the City of Tigard staff in the remaining 3 years of my term as mayor got probably pretty tired of some of the discussions and items I would bring up and really ask both on behalf of myself and the rest of the council about whether something was a potential conflict or others might perceive it. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you for your time. I realize you've got a lot on your agenda.
You're welcome, Mr. Snyder. I'm glad that this remote format enabled your participation. And I certainly appreciate your comments about your sort of efforts to educate yourself and learn more about our government ethics laws. That's the primary focus of our commission, and it's always great to hear public officials really engaging in that work. With that, I just want to invite my fellow commissioners to ask any questions. It looks like Mr. Mason, or Commissioner Mason.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess I just want to ask this question regarding a current mayor bringing a complaint towards a former mayor on an action that took place 4 years ago, I think is unique. Can you give your perspective on what might be driving that? Because I do have that correct, right? I mean, this was an action that took place in 2019.
Commissioner Mason, it is correct that this was almost 4 years ago when as far as time since the decision in question. I think I don't want to put Mr. Snyder in a position to turn this into a political issue, but politics, I think, potentially does play some role in this. I think that is reflected in the complaint itself, indicating that there might have been individuals who are unhappy with the middle housing ordinance who are raising this issue with the current mayor, and that might have had something to do with her decision to report this. But we understand that the commission has to make its decision based on the applicable law and the decision that was made, regardless of what politics might be behind the complaint.
Like I said, I think it's just unique that it is a current mayor filing a complaint on a previous mayor on an action that current mayor was on the city council 4 years prior. So thank you for answering that. I thought there might be more of a political issue there that you guys would want to flesh out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
Madam Chair, I have a question, not to our respondents, but to staff and our Mr. Burson.
Please.
Which is, remind me, are there steps that we need to take relative to confirming or deciding that there is the existence of a class? Are there steps we need to follow through on that to assess such a possibility? Or is that something that we can glean from testimony?
Well, the commission is the ones that decide what is a class, but, we don't normally come to you with a determination of a class during the preliminary review period because it's only a 60-day period. It's awful hard to get all the information. We're just trying to give you a cursory overview here.
Right.
It's one of the things we'd look at, the investigative period gives us 180 days to look at all those issues. Is everybody inside the class being treated the same by this? But, we we have a difficult time coming to you with 60 days worth of, and I really can't make a determination on what's just said here today that I think would help you with that decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
I have a clarifying question for council. I just want to confirm the class exception applies to the conflicts of interest analysis, but not the but-for analysis. Correct?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for anyone from the commissioners? Okay. I think we're ready to entertain a motion, Vice Chair.
Yeah, commissioners, Chair Hollister, I'm persuaded by respondents' comments. Therefore, I move that the commission find that the complaint and information available during the preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that Jason Snyder has violated cited statutes or warrant further review, and that the complaint be dismissed.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I think I'd like to open it up for discussion. And just a question for you, Vice Chair. Would you share your analysis on that with the commission, just so I make sure I'm following your thought pattern?
Right. I believe that there is a class exception, number one. I'm persuaded that there is one there. And then the remaining points that Mr. Snyder's attorney articulated, Mr. Sterringer stated, those are persuasive to me, those three items.
Okay, thank you. So this sort of notion that it doesn't ring the but-for bell because he wouldn't have gained a financial detriment or avoided a financial detriment but for his position or office. And then he didn't reasonably expect to be subject to the CET because he thought his application would issue before the end of the year.
Well,
I guess
yeah,
I'm
I
just
don't
reading
believe
from Mr. Sterringer's letter here, so.
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
I think that's a fair summary.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I think there's a little bit of complexity in this case. I mean, I would be interested to hear from council the sort of your thoughts on this but-for argument. Would you mind sharing?
Well, I don't think I wouldn't be prepared to argue against it, but so because that's not my role. But I can advise as far as the you do have to find that is an element. I would also say on the class piece of it that in order to make a class exception, it's difficult in preliminary review because you have to determine the class as the commission, and then you also have to assess the benefits of the class. So I don't know how you do that at the preliminary review stage without identifying the class in the first instance and going through those steps.
Yeah.
So that's the legal piece of it.
The challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Commissioner Lindsay.
Yeah, so I guess I thank you for that clarification. So my impression and the reason why I made that motion was as articulated in the record and also orally that there was this that this class was generally applicable to everybody and that there were no exceptions. And I think that that's sufficient for my legal analysis, but you're saying that what I'm hearing is there needs to be a deeper analysis only after the preliminary review, and that after there's additional investigation conducted, instead of just this generally applicable analysis. Is that correct?
So the class exception. So there's no guidance for staff in. So the only entity that can make a class exception determination is the commission. But the steps for establishing that a class exception, the commission first has to identify the class itself. Then you have to identify whether or not the benefits of the class, which includes the public official, whether the benefits to the entire class and the public official are the same or proportionally the same. It's difficult at this stage in the process for staff to make recommendations related to that because one, we don't know what class determination you're going to make as far as identifying the class. That's the first step. Then once that class is identified, then the economic determination or the benefit determination level of analysis has to occur at that point.
So I'm going to just interject here real quick, Commissioner Lindsay. It seems like one way of articulating this class is to say that it's defined by the Tigard Municipal Code, which is to include a class consisting of all persons who own residential property in Tigard that did not already have multifamily housing on it, as well as anyone who might want to develop such properties. So, I mean, it seems like in this case, at least, you probably could look and say there's a class sort of as a matter of law. And then, you know, I guess there'd be an argument to be made that it's a proportional impact on all members of that class because the 75% is just what it is what it is. It's a number that's applied to everyone. I mean, so I guess I could see getting there if we wanted to do that as a commission.
Well, and I think that you articulated what I was going to get after is that I understand the steps of the analysis, but my impression was that it was those, I guess it was a legal conclusion in my mind that this is one class, it's affecting everybody equally, there's no exceptions, and it's just a general class statement. So that's where I was going. And I think you said it better than I did, but.
Madam Chair, just a.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up, mostly for our legal counsel. Mr. Beatty, thank you for your comments on the class. Is there a place where that process to determine the class is spelled out for us in law or administrative rule? I'm not saying there should or shouldn't be. I'm curious about that because while I appreciate your description, I don't know what's the source for that description?
Sure. So the source is in statute, and there is a provision that allows you to adopt administrative rules to further define the class itself. But what's that?
Which might be something we would wish to consider.
It may be.
Because it doesn't exist now, is that right?
Yeah, but we can't talk about it in executive.
No, thank you very much. Excuse me, please.
Dan has his hand as well. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
Okay, are you finished? Okay. Commissioner Mason, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The more the lawyers talk, the more I either get convinced that there is a no violation, or this is more of a pursuit of, to try to find a violation versus investigating a violation. So I'd support the motion of Commissioner Lindsay, and that's with all due respect to my lovely friends that are attorneys on the commission. So I think the motion, I support it and hope to move to dismiss and keep moving on with our day.
Thank you, Commissioner Mason. And I join in, your commentary that attorneys tend to make things more complicated than they need to be as an attorney. So, Commissioner Lindsay, did you have another comment? I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, just going back to your but-for comment, I think that's another argument is that Mr. Snyder did not expect to be subject to the CET, whether he would have been or not. So that's another comment there. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Commissioner Thompson?
Being a non-lawyer, my inclination to support Commissioner Lindsay's motion is based on the fact that evidently both of these violations were sufficiently egregious. It took almost 4 years for somebody to get around to bringing it to our attention. So, I mean, the outrage must be palpable. So.
All right. Well, any other questions? Are we ready to proceed to the vote? I think we're moving to the vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Newell?
Can we revisit what the motion is?
The motion is to dismiss.
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum?
Aye.
Commissioner Burt?
Thumbs up.
Oh, okay, thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Aye.
Chair Hollister?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, Mr. Saringer, Mr. Snyder, thank you for your time. This matter is now dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. We've got agenda item number 42, and it looks like we're expecting is the respondent to appear via Teams.
Yes, they are here. Hold on just a second.
All right.
Guys, they're joining now.
Hello, Ms. Eldridge. Good afternoon, or good morning, just barely. Can you hear me okay?
I'm trying to turn my camera on.
Okay.
I seem to, there we go.
Good morning. Welcome. I'm Amber Hollister. I'm the commission chair, and we are ready to consider your matter. So I just wanted to give you a little roadmap of how we're going to proceed. So basically the way this is going to work is we're going to get a summary from our staff of their investigation. We might have some questions as commissioners for them. Once that's done, I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak. Because our agenda is really lengthy today, I am going to have to ask you to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And then once we hear from you, we might have questions and follow up or not. And then once we've gone through that process, the commission will move to consider a motion, and we'll either move to dismiss the matter or we'll move to conduct further investigation. So we're not going to decide whether or not there was an ethics violation today. That's not going to, we wouldn't decide that today. Okay. So with that, I think we're ready for our staff report from Investigator Marietta. Oh no, Myers, sorry.
Thank you, Chair Hollister. This is Investigator Susan Myers. So in June, the Ashland Parks and Recreation Commission, the director had resigned. And so the commission, Ms. Eldridge was on the commission at the time, was considering the process for hiring a new director. So at the June 14th meeting, they were discussing and looking at the position description for the new director, what will the process be, so forth. After that discussion occurred, but before any vote took place, Ms. Eldridge did indicate in a public announcement that she was considering that he may apply for the position. And so she did disclose a conflict of interest. She disclosed it as an actual conflict. I don't think it was at that point, but she made sufficient disclosure at that point. At a subsequent meeting in July, on July 5th, they then held a meeting to consider whether to appoint, who to appoint as the interim director for the Parks and Recreation Commission, including whether to appoint Ms. Eldridge as the interim director. Between the two meetings, apparently the commission did hold several executive sessions where they were considering and interviewing candidates. She did not participate in those executive sessions other than as a candidate. At the July 5th meeting, the commission was considering to appoint her. She was still on the commission at that point. She did not make any public announcement of a conflict of interest. After the discussion, but before the vote, the chair turned and said, I think you need to recuse yourself. And she said, oh, yes, I do. And at that point, she left the room. The report that is in your meeting books recommends that it move to investigation because she never did make the public announcement of her conflict of interest at the July 5th meeting. I will note it somewhat appears that she may have been acting on advice of counsel. The assistant city attorney, based on her comments to us, had advised her basically just don't participate, but it does not appear that the city attorney had advised her, you need to make a public announcement before you go and recuse yourself. that recusal by itself is insufficient. In our statutes, that is a consideration in the penalty phase. So if she were acting on advice of counsel, that would be grounds for making it a letter of education. And in fact, my recommendation would be to move this to investigation and then negotiate an appropriate stipulation with Ms. Eldridge for a letter of education.
Thank you, Investigator Myers. So it sounds like she was really close to getting it right.
It was very close.
Really close. Okay. All right. So any questions from the commission for staff? No. Ms. Eldridge, I'd like to invite you to share any comments you have with the commission.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Susan Myers for assisting me through this process and keeping me apprised of the complaint as it went along. I appreciate that description. I agree with it completely. In that July 5th meeting, I did fail to declare a conflict of interest at the beginning of the agenda item and only recused myself for the vote. And at that time, I believed that my statement during the June meeting, my declaration, was sufficient to notify the public. I was also incredibly nervous about what was going to happen and if I was going to end up in this totally new position and have it kind of turn my life upside down. So I was somewhat speechless. I would agree with Susan Myers. There was legal involved in this, and unfortunately, at no time was I advised by legal or by senior commissioners that I needed to do this. I should have known better, but I thought I did the best I could, and unfortunately, I regret that I did not. I now understand that I needed to declare my conflict of interest at the beginning of the agenda at every single meeting. So I think that's all I really need to say.
Thank you, Ms. Eldridge. I certainly appreciate your comments. It's clear that there's no ill intent here, and you were certainly trying to comply. And I appreciate that you've really sought to educate yourself on the requirements of the law since this time. That's always admirable when public officials sort of dig in and figure it out. So thank you for that. Any questions from commissioners or thoughts? No? Oh, okay. I think we're ready for a motion, Commissioner Lindsay.
Chair Hollister, I hereby move that the commission find that there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Leslie Eldridge may have violated 244-244-120 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly and negotiate a letter of education.
Thank you, Commissioner Lindsay. I heard that was a motion to investigate.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Just say that's what it was.
It's like what Ron heard too.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. Any discussion on the motion, thoughts? Okay. I think we're ready to call the roll.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke. Thumbs up. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell. Aye. Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Perfect. So Ms. Eldridge, we just went ahead and voted to move this to investigation. A couple of points I wanted to make. First is just to point out what Investigator Myers said, which is if you're acting on advice of counsel in this world, that means we're not looking at civil penalties. So just I don't want undue stress on that front. And certainly we'll be in touch with you. We really appreciate your cooperation and how forthright you've been. And my hope is that this is an opportunity for education, and we certainly come to it in that spirit. So thank you for participating today. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
$43.
I'm admitting 43 now. The respondent has joined.
Perfect. Good morning, Ms. Tolan. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So I'm Amber Hollister. I'm the chair of the commission. I wanted to just give you a little roadmap of how we're going to proceed today. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to invite our staff to provide a summary of their investigation, and we might have questions for them. And after that, I'll invite you to make any comments to the commission you'd like to make. Because of the length of our agenda, I'm going to need to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, although we might have follow-up questions for you. And once we've gone through that process, we'll turn as a commission to consider a motion. We'll either be moving to dismiss or moving to investigate further. So we don't have it on the table today to make any finding that there was an ethics violation. It's either dismiss or investigate. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll turn it to Investigator Marietta.
Well, it's actually Monica.
Oh, sorry. HM.
I know you're not wrong.
They got me
Okay.
signed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Investigator Walker, please.
So thank you, Chair Hollister and Commissioners. For the record, this is Monica Walker, Commission Investigator. Agenda item number 43 in your meeting books is a preliminary review report for an ethics case involving Maya-Lise Tolan, Superintendent for the Lincoln County School District. Ms. Tolan did notify that she plans to attend, and she is here today via MS Teams. The complaint alleges that Ms. Tolan may have attempted to further her personal gain and failed to declare conflicts of interest by using district resources to advertise and promote her book. In her response, Maya-Lise Tolan stated that in attending conferences and presentations for work-related travel, she carries a copy of her book with her so she can ask for autographs and a picture should she meet women of leadership and or endorsers. Review of the documentation received revealed that Ms. Tolan may have advertised and promoted her book by posting the pictures from these meetings to her Twitter account. She also handed out promotional book stickers between sessions or on breaks at events in which she was attending as a representative of the district. As Ms. Tolan's ability to attend these events and promote her book would appear to only have been available but for the holding of her position, currently as superintendent and formerly as secondary director of the district, it appears that Ms. Tolan may have violated ORS 244040. In regard to conflicts of interest in signing up for the events at which she could also advertise and promote her book, Ms. Tolan may have taken action in her official capacity that could result in a financial impact or the avoidance of a financial detriment. Thus, it appears she may have had potential conflicts of interest that needed to be declared. Per ORS 244120 subsection 1 subsection C, Ms. Tolan's knowledge of the possibility that she could promote her book at these events would require her to provide written notification to her appointing authority prior to signing up or attending an event in her official capacity. This information indicates that by failing to declare a conflict of interest each time she signed up for an event may have constituted a violation of the conflict of interest provisions. Based on the information obtained, it appears there is substantial objective basis in this case to believe that violations of the prohibited use of office under 244040 subsection 1 and conflict of interest statutes under ORS 244120 subsection 1C may have occurred. Therefore, the report that is in your meeting books recommends moving this case to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Walker.
Thank you.
So looks like we've got a lot of information, times and dates and locations. So must have been a thorough investigation. Thank you for that. Any questions from the commission for our investigator? I'm not seeing any questions at this point. So Ms. Tolan, I wanted to invite you to go ahead and make your comments.
All right, so I'm going to end up paraphrasing this because I feel like I'm incredibly prepared. This is humiliating, I'll be honest with you, that I am sitting before an ethics commission right now. I've been an educator for 20 years. I have traveled since I was a teacher to go to conferences and workshops and have always taken pictures with authors and people that I have met along the way. This isn't new behavior. This isn't behavior that started because I wrote a book or because I'm a superintendent. There's 2 standards of practice that administrators have to follow in Oregon. There's actually 6, but 2 of them pertain to this complaint. One, you have to understand, respond to, and influence the political, social, legal, and cultural context. And when I'm traveling as a learner through COSA, through OASSA, through Lincoln County School District, you're constantly learning in those areas that pertain to that standard. And part of that ends up becoming taking back that knowledge to Lincoln County School District. Because of my role with COSA, they've paid for a number of those things starting back in 2017. They weren't paid for by Lincoln County School District. I wasn't sent by the district, but that knowledge and learning that happens at those does end up benefiting Lincoln County School District when I come back. These pictures that were taken are taken during breaks. They're taken during passing times. They're posted on my own social media. I did not think that I was committing a violation for that because I wasn't standing up and speaking about it or selling it or advertising for people to buy it. They weren't taken while I was making any actions as a secondary director or a superintendent. I wasn't doing the role of the position. I happen to be a person who has that role. And an example of that is yesterday, I was a superintendent. We don't have enough subs. I was a substitute and I was a parent of a person in that classroom. And I acted as a sub in that role. And the same thing can happen when I go anywhere. I am a position, but I'm acting in a way. And in the case of these pictures and at the passing times of these conferences, I was not acting as Lincoln County School District. I am Lincoln County did not buy the book. The books have been studies in different districts across the country, in different states across the country. It has not been a statewide study in Oregon. It has not been a book that Lincoln County School District purchased. Since I found out about this complaint, and it's disgusting. It wasn't the intent of writing the book to make any money. I immediately notified the school board. I notified our HR director, our business office. We pulled everything to make sure I hadn't committed any of these concerns that were brought up. And I started on my own turning over all royalties because I could see where someone else might question something around having a book. But it's going to be difficult with a book like this to be in a place and be a woman and not have somebody ask me about the topic of the book, which is what happened in some of those as well. So that ends up becoming a big concern for me in this component. Also, in the letter that Dr. Gray submitted with my dates and times and information that I submitted for the investigation, she knew about every single thing that I did. It's not in writing every time because we met weekly around all sorts of roles in the district, but I was completely transparent with Lincoln County when I was interviewed for the position in 4 community forums. The community was told I wrote a book. The community was told I travel with COSA. I'm part of National Association of Secondary School Principals. All of this was completely disclosed, which is why I would even post things because I'm not secretive and I'm incredibly transparent. I realize I'm rambling because I was incredibly prepared in what I wrote. And now I have 3 minutes. I've heard sometimes people get a long time, so that's weird. But I do not believe that I had a conflict of interest in any of these actions. These are things I would have attended anyway. And I attended them with Lincoln County School District staff members if that's who paid for it. And I was there with COSA staff if that's who paid for it, or I paid myself. So thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak to you. I do want to add one last thing before I'm done on why I don't think it's a conflict, because I wasn't doing actions, I wasn't making decisions, I wasn't giving recommendations. But if this goes forward, I do hope other people learn, because there are a number of teachers who sell their lesson plans and sell their curriculum. There's a number of authors who are also still practicing, and the written potential part is the one that we're hung up on. And I haven't talked to anyone who said it had to be in writing. Everyone said you have to have permission. Everyone said you have to be transparent. And I had done that, and my superintendent submitted that as well as part of this. So I don't like being a case study for learning, but if that's the way it moves forward, I hope that other people learn and don't make mistakes that I have made. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Ms. Tolan, and for your participation in the matter today. At this point, I just want to invite the commissioners to ask any questions they might have of you or questions they might have of staff. If there are any questions. Okay. I did note, Ms. Tolan makes a point about how she's using her personal time. I was curious to hear, Investigator Walker, your thoughts about how we treat personal time versus staff time, and whether that would be something you would investigate or try to clarify if we move to investigate.
Yeah, if we move to investigation, I would look to seek or obtain additional records such as expenses paid and by whom, and try to determine, I mean, she was representing the district. I would also look at the timeline that she provided and look into, there were 10 others, 10 other timelines and events listed, and I would find out, did she attend them as a representative or not, and look into that a little bit further to ascertain. And then, of course, I would interview persons in the process. So.
I guess I'm curious about this notion of like what you do on your breaks, and you know, what our opinions have been on that in the past. And maybe there haven't been any, but it's an interesting question.
Madam Chair, I would only add before Mr. Burson or somebody else responds, I think that the tension that you described would particularly apply when an individual is traveling out of state, with all that implies with regard to 24-hour days and work days and so forth. It just raises some tension for me to think about the traveling public official. Sorry.
Okay. Well, no, people travel to conferences and things like that. I mean, you're asking about the breaks, but really what we're looking at is if you were there representing the district, you're only there but for being, in this case, a superintendent of that district. And, that's kind of what we're looking at. I mean, it's not, I think it's very hard for people like you to turn the switch off and on. Like I'm a public official right now, but we're on break. Now I'm not a public official any longer. And so, you're at the conference. I mean, you were sent there. Now, I'm interested in who actually sent, who is paying the expenses. Like I think you'd ask Investigator Walker if they were paying their own expenses, if it's their own trip. We don't get involved in that. I mean, they're not representing the district at that point. Now, the CASA ones, we have to see, are they representing, Lincoln, I think it's Lincoln County. Yeah, Lincoln County School District at that point. But I just don't know enough right now.
Fair enough. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Or are we ready to move to a motion? I think we're ready for a motion, Vice Chair.
Chair Hollister and fellow commissioners, I'm inclined to believe Ms. Tolan. And I think the proper process to tease that out and iron it out is to continue with the investigation, to allow her to have that opportunity to visit with the investigator and button that up appropriately. I think it would be a good exercise to I guess the word is to vindicate and clear her name, is to go through that process. So consequently, I hereby move that the commission find that there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Ms. Tolan may have violated ORS 2440401 and 244120 sub 1 sub C, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there any comment on the motion or discussion from the commission? Yes,
Madam Chair, I would simply make a comment that you might have already made or might well make in the near future, which is that if we are to move forward with it, with an investigation, we have not found a violation, and that is a key distinction which we need to emphasize every single solitary time, as in this case, as persons outside of our home districts may see our decision. We are not, if we vote yes on this motion, we are not establishing or finding that there has been a violation. We are continuing to conduct not just a review, cursory review, but a more in-depth investigation with the participation of the person against whom a complaint has been filed. That's the point. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, any other comments or discussion? Okay, seeing none, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Fiscum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke, Aye. Thank you. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Aye.
Commissioner Newell,
Aye.
Chair Hollister.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
So Ms. Tolan, we've just voted to investigate further. That's all that we've done. And I'll say that it's fairly common that we investigate further in cases that have some factual complexity, a lot of dates and moving pieces. So our staff will be reaching out to you to get that additional information they need so that we can resolve this matter. Thank you for your participation today.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to agenda number 40, item number 44.
Attorney Mr. Zinga is in now.
Mr. Who?
Zinga.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we only expecting Mr. Elzinga or is?
Yes, I don't believe Mr. Salvaggio is attending.
If I was staring at Alzina, would it be ethics commission meeting? It's like they reports every month.
Good afternoon by 1 minute, Mr. Elzinga. Welcome to the Ethics Commission. Can you hear me okay? Mr. Elzinga, can you hear me okay? You're currently on mute. But I haven't seen you try to talk. You can hear me.
Mm-mm.
Oh. Here, let me just email.
Or at least text him too.
Okay, sounds good. Can you hear us?
This is Steve Elzinga. Can you hear me?